Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The Bloodline of Abhorash is making its presence known on the battlefield as the Blood Knights are going to be sounding the charge against the Empire, as I'm going to be leading the Vampire Counts, and we have Dov Plays is going to be on his Empire. So for the Vampire Counts army, it is going to have a bunch of zombies for that front line, and for the Lord, it is going to be Vlad von Karstein, the man, the myth, the legend, going to be making his presence known. He is going to be bringing his Blood Drinker. He also does have the aura of Dark Grandeur, giving -4 leadership and around him. And against the Empire State troops, it's going to be a nice little extra push to get them routing off the field. We also have the Invocation of the Heck, we have Van Hell's Dance Macabre, and we have Raise Dead as well. And we have Arcane Conduit and Master of Beguilement, -40 melee attack on any targetable enemy. So against Demis, Volkmar, Karl, anything like that, pretty good use for that. He is going to be protected by some Crypt Horrors in the case that there is any Luminarchs on the field. Going to be trying to tank some of those shots for him. And then if that is not the case, they do have Poison as well and Armor Piercing, so it can help provide a little extra mass to that frontline engagement. For the rest of the troops, we do have some Skeleton Warriors on the far flanks. We have a couple of Graveguard to mix things in as well. They will trade very well into anything that isn't great weapons on the other side, and some Crypt Ghouls to kind of round things off, to really push through very quickly against those state troops, get into the gun lines and anything else. We have a couple of White Kings as well on horseback, going to be running with those Blood Knights. They do have Scab's Wraith for both of them, and especially against Volkmar, I do love those White King picks. They do quite well. And we have a couple of bats in the sky as well to kind of just chase things off, shut down guns when we need them to. And that is going to wrap things up. Now for the Empire, it is going to be Volkmar the Grim. He is going to be rocking it up on his war chariot, and he is going to be bringing all of his lovely goodies. He does have his Bound Banishment. Of course, he has his Jade Griffin, giving himself a nice little bit of regeneration in battle, so both Lords going to be regenerating throughout. We have the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, Grand Shield of Faith, and the Grand Soulfire Bombardment. Now for the rest of the troops, it is going to be a Spearman front line, going to be backed up by a trio of Free Company Militia. Nice little short range they don't have really good armor piercing, but nice sustained fire, good against deterring bats, and just kind of whittling down the opponents, and they are quite cheap as well. We do have Sigmar's Sons. Of course, they are an unbreakable unit, always a fantastic unit to be bringing in pretty much every matchup. And in the backline, we do have Halberdiers going to be protecting those Free Company Militia from any charges from those Blood Knights, but there is also a very good deterrent for them is triple Demigryph Knights on the field. Gonna be pretty heavy shot cavalry, going to be contending the Blood Knights in this battle. There is also going to be an Empire Captain thrown into the mix, just his base kit, just a little bit extra for that front line to help kind of break down any Graveguard, anything like that. But for spellcasting, it is going to be a Jade Wizard, going to be bringing Shield of Thorns actually, and Earthblood. So the Shield of Thorns is going to be giving +22% physical resist and +30% base weapon damage in an AoE too. So that is quite helpful indeed for those cav engagements. That is going to be it. So let's roll right on into this as both sides do square off against one another. Pushing forward, the Free Company Militia going to be moving up just a bit and are going to be opening up into these Crypt Horrors, going to be doing some good damage over the course of their volleys. Going to be whittling down these units who have very low armor, so they'll be taking quite a bit of damage from that. So that's a very good target for them. Nice large target, hard to miss them. And now the rest of the forces going to be charging forward against these Spearmen. We have the zombies, Graveguard as well, and Vlad von Karstein going to be dropping a summon right into the back line here, mucking up these Free Company Militia right away, shutting down one of the units. And Volkmar has overextended a bit, and he's going to be seeing the charge of all of these units. He is going to be dropping his Grand Shield of Faith, giving himself some nice little damage resistance. And the Blood Knights are going to quickly pull out, fearing that Soulfire Bombardment. But Banishment is going to be going down right in the middle of all of these zombies and Crypt Ghouls, but doing a fair amount of damage to the Spearmen as well, actually going to be routing them off. And the bats are going to be dropping on into these Free Company Militia, trying to hopefully break them. but they are holding firm. And now the charge of these Demigryph Knights are going to be felt on the field, as we do have a nice little Scab's Wraith going down, going right through these Free Company Militia, making them waver already. And the Blood Knights cycling in, trying to catch these demis, but they do pull out before they are able to take any damage from that. And both of the White Kings now just kind of sitting there waiting for their targets. As in the frontline engagement here, Vlad is just wading through all of this these units here, doing a lot of good damage to the Halberdiers, but lots of the state troops are already starting to crumble left and right. The Sigvar Sun's going to be holding this line back with keeping these Free Company Militia safe, and there is that Soulfire Bombardment going to be pretty much bringing these Crypt Horrors down to critically low, as they do get a nice charge in. They are engaged, of course, with Spearmen and Halberdiers, so these Blood Knights don't want to be sticking around for too long, as these Crypt Horrors have been taking quite a bit of damage from those nice anti-large units. But the Bats once again dropping down in the back line, going to be keeping those Free Company Militia busy, and another summon as well is going to be shutting down the other unit for at least for now. All of the units are going to be dropped down. The Fellbats chasing off these that unit of Free Company Militia, and the state troops are slowly whittling down bit by bit. More of the spears are getting pulled off by these Graveguard, as they trading very, very well. And we do have Vlad von Karstein hunting for that Empire Captain, as he's kind of wading through these swordsmen. But the cav engagement in the rear here is kind of where the battle is going to be decided. Blood Knights getting a nice charge into one of these Demigryph Knights. They do have Shield of Thorns on them and a regrowth topping them off, and Volkmar is going to be charging on in to really kind of put a punish on these Blood Knights if he can. And these Halberdiers are also going to be trying to get a charge in with their very nice bonus versus large. But these Blood Knights, seeing that charge, are going to be pulling out. A few of the models going to be a little caught up on Volkmar there, but they will be able to pull out of that engagement and allow the Skeleton Warriors and White Kings to kind of do their work and kind of clear out more and more of that very strong armor or anti-large units. Demi's going to be circling around the opposite flank, staying away from the Blood Knights at this point, and the Empire Captain has been able to free up from Vlad, as Vlad actually went in to try and assist his Blood Knights a little bit better, getting a little closer and hunting down Volkmar as well. But Volkmar with his chariot is a very elusive target, as he can just kind of push through any of the infantry that he wants to. But Vlad giving a little bit of terror routes here, as the Free Company Militia do route, and another Scab's Wraith going to be routing off these Spearmen off the cast, and the Halberds taking a bunch of damage as well. And a nice little charge in by these three Demigryph Knights, going to be wrecking some of these Graveguard, hoping to really break them down as quickly as they can, because they need to help that infantry engagement, while the Blood Knights are going to pretty much just need to worry about the Demis here, because their front line will beat the Empires in this fight. And now Volkmar is going to get surrounded again by these two White Kings, and the Demis is going to try and charge in against these Blood Knights. Blood Knights are going to be pulling back away from Volkmar, as another Soulfire Bombardment does go down onto some zombies, so not really too much to worry about there. And now the Blood Knights going to be charging right back in, pulling the Demis out of the away from the rest of their big infantry support, and doing some nice bit of damage off that charge. But they are starting to take some damage themselves, and Vlad going to be kind of coming on in here, looking to get a charge in, as he does get that overcasted Invocation of the Heck, going to be healing up those Blood Knights, and even kind of topping off that White King as well, who's already pretty healthy though. But pretty much all of the infantry support is slowly whittling away for the Empire at this point. We do have some more Free Company Militia getting some nice little shots in, but the Bats are on the return after chasing off these Free Company Militia, finally shattering them. It took quite a bit of time, but the White King was able to jump on top of the Jade Wizard here, and the Demis tried to charge in to save him, but that is definitely a trade that the Counts are going to be willing to take. Their White King now is completely surrounded in by these Demis. He isn't going to be going anywhere anytime soon without any support, but he was able to eliminate the magic casting from the Empire, so that is a very helpful trade. And yeah, these Demis, they do have Master Beguilement put on them, so minus 40 melee attack. That is going to be reducing that to a nice whopping 0. Going to be keeping that White King nice and alive. The other one still is able to do some damage, but a summon does drop into the middle of all of this, trying to muck things up and keep that White King alive and well, because they do really want them for dealing with Volkmar, and the rest of the units are going to be charging in. We have the Blood Knights getting a nice little rear charge into these demis, and now Vlad von Karstein is also here, but here is a Bound Banishment going to be going right into the mix. The Blood Knights, for the most part, are able to pull out of that engagement, so really that is going to be doing a bit more to the demis, but with the pathing of that banishment, it did actually clip some of those Blood Knights, doing some decent work there. And the Felbats diving on top of these Free Company Militia, for trying to shut them down for as long as possible while the other White King deals with the others. But the Demi is going to be able to quickly peel them off, and these Felbats won't be lasting too much longer. But all of these units very depleted, and as a Scab's Wraith rips through those Halberdiers, trying to deal with the last of the infantry for the Empire. And with the Demigryph Knight support, the rest of the Count infantry really has suffered quite a bit. There isn't a whole lot left on the field. There is a very haggard group of Graveguard, but that's what the summons are for, able to kind of always have a bit of infantry support on the field, even in that late game. And now Vlad has been able to finally get on top of that Empire Captain with both of the White Kings as well. And they are going to be putting a punishing blows onto him already, going to be terrifying that Empire Captain and routing him off the field, doing a ton of damage here. And now the Blood Knights circling around, hunting for those Demigryph Knights, going to be getting a charge in on them, as they do kind of, one of them does cycle around and getting a little counter. But this is going to be the start of the end of this fight, as the Cav engagement is going to be in its crescendo. Going to be trying to finish off for one side or the other, and whoever does walk away with the cavalry here is likely going to have the tools necessary to deal with the rest. And Volkmar coming in to support as well, with one of the demis did get peeled off, and they do have a little ranged firepower coming in, only 19 models, so not a whole lot. And the summon is going to be dropping into the backline, trying to pin in these demis for as long as possible, as the Blood Knights going to be doing some nice good work. And in comes a nice little terror source, as well as a Invocation of the Heck goes down on one of the lower units of Blood Knights, going to be healing them up. And there is those terror routes from the two demis. One is naturally routed, the other is terrified, but that is going to be it. Losing the demis there was going to spell the end, especially with both of the White Kings still nice and healthy. But that is going to be all she wrote. Take a little look at the after battle report. So we're going to start with the Empire. Volkmar doing what he does, racking up the kills and getting 3,000 in value. Really kind of one of the big reasons why the Empire was able to win that infantry fight, even though they were a little outclassed with the Graveguard and the Crypt Ghouls. But he did do quite well in that particular regard. The Empire Captain getting some value, but really wasn't a showstopper one way or the other. Unfortunately for the Empire, they did lose their Jade Wizard kind of towards the middle of the match, and losing that healing in the late game, especially in that final Cav engagement, would have been very nice to keep those demis nice and healthy, and another Shield of Thorns wouldn't have hurt either. For the rest of the forces, the Spears is kind of doing what they do. Halberds did get some good value. I believe this was the one that was engaged with the Crypt Horrors on the other side, able to actually rack up some decent work, and even the Sigmar Sons as well is kind of what you expect from a nice Unbreakable unit, able to really kind of whittle through all of those zombies and skeleton warriors pretty effectively. For the range forces, the Free Company Militia actually did quite well. One didn't do as well. That one got routed off pretty early, but the one that was able to stick around for the long haul was able to rack up over 1,000 in value. Some pretty good work there, and they are some nice cheap ranged units and can do quite well at whittling things down. They don't have really the burst that the Silver Bullets do have, but the Silver Bullets can get taken out pretty quickly, and especially for the cost, you can get a couple of those Free Company Militia instead. And the demis on the prowl did not do quite so hot today. Not a single one of them topping 1,000 in value. They didn't quite get the engagements that they wanted to, even though they had the number support by the Blood Knights. The Blood Knights were able to do very, very well. 1,600 and 2k in value, trading much better into those demis in this engagement. For the rest of the Vampire Count's forces, we have Vlad. He was just kind of there, given that terror, summons, heals, all that good stuff. Didn't really do any considerable damage himself, but he was still at full health, and he had plenty of healing to spare. White Kings, on the other hand, did about 3k value between the two of them, between their Scab's Wraiths, their roaming the battlefield, killing that Jade Wizard and doing some good damage to Volkmar. As I said before, I do love having them for Volkmar in particular, because having 2 of them engaged with Volkmar, they will win that fight. As much as you might not expect it, they do quite well for that particular engagement. The rest of the force is zombies doing what zombies do. The skeleton warriors as well. Crypt ghouls did okay work, but not anything too exciting. And the grave guard as well were able to kind of pull their weight on top of that. But really, it was the Blood Knights really carrying the day against the demis there, making sure that they had that advantage, and Felbats were able to chase off the units that they needed to. But yeah, it was definitely the Blood Knights show for the Vampire Counts with the White Kings, and that is going to be all she wrote for today. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good one.